What's up, everyone? I'm Kirk Moore, and this is my view of the State of the Union 2019. Hello, people of the United States and everyone else watching in your own great countries. I like where I live, family, home, job, hobbies. I think I have a pretty positive outlook on life. I don't always think the same thing about my country. To be fair, it isn't any more my country than it is your country. And I think that many of you have similar feelings about your family, home, job, hobbies, outlook on life. And I'm sure many of you see things quite differently. Let's find the areas where we can work together instead of constantly bickering with each other. This partial government shutdown is an exercise in futility. It's hurting people. The crisis we have is manufactured, and it's not along our southern border. It emanates right from Washington, D.C. I propose we remove the negotiation of toxic wedge issues from the basic government funding formulas. And then let's unclench our fists and find ways forward instead of backwards. We have too many people living in poverty here in the United States. We have to do better serving the poorest among us. I propose expanding programs that serve the poor, to be sure everyone has the basic necessities of life, and to help people to do better than just the minimum, too. Let's be sure the minimum wage is a living wage. When we're attending to one another, we all do better. We have too many people living in poverty throughout our world. We have to do better serving everyone who doesn't have enough to eat, a place to live, or a way to provide for themselves and their families. I propose that we expand our funding to organizations throughout the world who serve others. We have enough food and money to make a huge difference. It's time we stopped acting selfishly while calling it taking care of ourselves first. Let's stand up for justice and kindness all over the world. Recently, racism and bigotry seem to have found a new energy in our country. That is unacceptable. I propose we update existing laws and write new ones to be sure all are created justly, regardless of age, economic status, ethnic origin, gender identity and expression, marital status, mental and physical ability, political affiliation, or sexual orientation. Racism and bigotry have no place here. We're doing great harm to our environment by doubling down on our dependence on fossil fuels. I propose we pass laws toward the goal of ending that dependence and also consciously begin to end our use of fossil fuels in favor of renewable energy sources. We'll create new jobs and keep our air, land, and water from avoidable destruction. And we have too much corruption in government. We have to do better at simply being honest. I propose that we end the unfettered and prone to corruption fundraising and spending candidates are permitted in elections, and instead replace that system with a publicly funded, even playing field system for those who seek public office. And we need to think long and hard about what is just and fair when we make laws and establish policy. And speaking of laws and policy, we spend too much time arguing with each other and not enough time getting things done. I propose we get all the political parties together, find out what we all agree on, and start doing things that help us get better. All the arguments and posturing and complaining about people who have different ideas about how to make us a better country only succeed in making us worse. Let's start with just what we can agree on, even if it's just a tiny thing. I know from there we can find more common ground for the common good. We can do far better in our country in many things. We can establish real research and supported education programs that educate our children. We can do meaningful research on the effects of gun violence and other kinds of trauma on our overall health, mind, body, spirit. Maybe we can come up with some common sense ideas to make things better. We can stop a tax system that gives a majority of entitlements and tax breaks to the richest among us, and institute real tax reform that encourages investment instead of wealth hoarding. And we can stop demonizing people who seek to immigrate here, or seek asylum, or to live in peace within the U.S. borders. Let's let humanity and compassion be our guide, instead of xenophobia and the endless pursuit of power. We really can see that all in the U.S. have access to health care. Medicare works for a large portion of our population. Let's extend it to all. And sure, it will be expensive, but far less expensive than our current system costs all of us. Wouldn't you like to have better access to healthcare for less funds per person than we currently spend? And stop pointing only to hurdles as if they were the entirety of any idea or proposal. Let's work together to make things better. And we can stop assuming that we hold the corner of all things right. And instead, establish a plan for how we're going to live in peace with one another instead of flexing our missiles every time we get frightened. And we can learn to treat one another with kindness. It's something we've forgotten. We have a great country. We have a great world. I know it's not in a particularly great state right now, but we can do better. Let's do better together. Thank you.